Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cinema Span. Today, we are covering American Gangster, directed by Ridley Scott, and Great Debaters, directed by Denzel Washington. With me today, I've got Jay from The Loft again.
Yep, and matter of fact, we're in the loft. We got Tiny in the cut right here. We got Coda over here off camera. I'm sure she's going to be making some noise potentially that Louis is going to be stressfully editing fairly soon.
It'll totally be no worries. We have the levels set.
The levels have been set. But nice to see you all again. Of course, like Louis said, we're going to be getting into two meaty movies.
Yes, it's a Denzel Washington double today.
Double feature, dude. Denzel was going hard in both of these, both The Great Debaters and American Gangster. Flawless. But I assume we'll be starting off with American Gangster.
Yeah, definitely. American Gangster is basically about Frank Lucas, who was a real crime figure,
A real life Godfather.
Yeah,
Black Godfather.
absolutely.
I would say. Yeah,
came after the Italian mob and basically, but he was able to stir up basically the whole game, and this movie is just documenting that time.
Mm-hmm.
It's also around the Vietnam War, so there's a lot of political forces at play.
Right.
And it's one of the better parts of the film is that I think Ridley Scott knows how to lay out what's politically happening with kind of the personal drama of what's going on with Frank as well.
Yeah, that's a big thing that I actually wanted to talk about was it's not only the pacing in the writing, but the pacing in the cinematography that builds your level of understanding of the world. Like if you had no context of what the 70s or the late 70s, early 80s would be like, you had no context, watching this movie would provide a decent amount of context to the events going on. So if you look at the film, you'll notice in the background that the Vietnam War is constantly playing throughout the news, going throughout the different stages. And it plays perfectly along with the rise and fall of Frank Lucas's empire.
Yes.
And I think that juxtaposition alone makes the film very compelling because you could see exactly where things are going, but Frank Lucas himself refuses to see the end of his road.
Absolutely. And he's seizing a moment, basically. You know, that's why he's able to even gain power at all. Is because he's exploiting this brief window in time where the military is corrupt enough to be sending out drugs back to America. It's just the administration change happening around this time. It's all really great, and you're right. The cinematography is really great too because Ridley Scott will constantly show on an analog tube top TV. That was appropriate for the time, but he'll show footage, real life footage that you've probably seen from the Vietnam War, and different politicians speaking around that time, and all of that grounds everything else around it really well too.
Right.
It's definitely an expensive movie because there are some really great sets, really great costumes throughout too. You're right. It's just every piece of it is just is executed to the fullest extent.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, even talking about the set design, the costume design and stuff, bro, all the pimps and the drug dealers. Yep. I mean, that's what I loved about Frank Lucas's character was his number one thing was you can't be too loud because that makes you the weakest one.
Right.
And
just stay quiet.
You're the first person that someone's going to go, you see, I just say this for the context of the movie, but you see a nigga, and then you see him wearing very nice things.
Yep.
In that time, you're one of two things, a drug dealer or a pimp, most of the time. Outside of the successful businessmen that existed in Harlem during the Black Wall Street Renaissance, unfortunately, a lot of the profits made in that area were primarily from drug trafficking. Mm-hmm. But of course, that is another thing that I noticed about the movie and about that period in time was that this was allowed to happen. This was not something that people in higher positions of the government or the law didn't know about, but the problem was that it was making certain people money personally.
And they were in on it.
They could profit off of it, which when I seen Richard Nixon in the film giving his speech about the war on drugs, it kind of made me chuckle because you can critically wound a community by making a few people wildly rich, and you give them the keys to destroy their own community.
Oh, yeah.
Every 10 times out of 10, they're going to do it, whether they're self-aware or not. It doesn't matter.
And there's differences like crack, cocaine, crack being different than cocaine, right? As far as like the drugs that are scheduled and like what they were putting into like communities at different points. Like it was all specifically targeted. Like you are right. It's so fucked.
Yeah. And I mean, it's
those three, I think that at the end they say like it's 75% of the narcotics police force.
Unfucking believable, bro.
But it makes sense because like at a certain point, if you weren't in on it, you weren't taking bribes.
Yeah,
like
you're a
people
leper.
saw
No
you
one
as,
wanted to be around you.
Yeah.
Right.
So it tracks that like it could get that bad.
I
And also like I think we still have a lot of that corruption in today's police forces too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's why like it can be so tough to make a change within those forces.
Mm-hmm. And on that note, I actually did write a specific thought on it. I was thinking the delivery of the drug crisis is super accurate and ironic, considering Nixon was making drug empires while weakening the black community. Effectively, what I was just saying beforehand, just a moment ago.
Mm-hmm.
But the irony is that, like, Frank Lucas himself, I can't say for certain that he was not, like, aware that he was destroying his own community, but there's specific scenes where he's watching his own streets in like a little goatee and a fake afro.
Yep.
And like everyone's all fucking tweaked out. Everyone's all strung out and shit.
Well,
like everybody.
That's the beauty of this is that like they don't let him off the hook.
Mm-hmm.
Like they consistently keep that in frame. Like there's a I think a Thanksgiving or a Christmas like montage. And it shows like Frank at home with his family.
Yeah.
And then the montage ends with like a bunch of people overdosing and like babies crying and stuff. And it's like, this is the real weight of like what he is doing. Even if he looks cool and composed, that's not like what is, really going on. Yeah.
Right.
That's just the surface. And yeah, it's awesome too, because like, yeah, he does keep he does keep a low profile for most of the film, but like the one time he kind of goes out in a fur coat to like the Muhammad Ali fight.
He knew he shouldn't have.
But it was like a $50,000 fur coat that his wife Ava buys for him, and like you see it. He's like, all right, screw it. Like this one time I'm gonna go in, but it's what does him in.
For a moment there, when I was watching that scene, I was like, oh, she's like saying, I'm like, look under the coat. I'm the gift. So I was like, okay. I was like, all right, so. But then I was like, oh, shit. She's like, it looks nice, right? While covering herself. And I was like, oh, no. I was like, this is it, dude.
Yep.
I was like, you don't want to be the loudest in the room because then you were the weakest. And that's it.
But that's a beautiful, like, structural piece of screenwriting, right? Like, he lays out his own rules and then breaks it, right? Like, that's, yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the dismantling of the empire itself, is these rules are broken again and again and again, whether it be with the cousin who shot the corrupt detective that came to the event, or the brother who, when they got pulled over by NYPD or the special units with Trupo, and he's like, it's in the car. And he goes, it's fine, man. And then proceeds to slam his head against the window and fucking whoop his ass. Bro, Frank Lucas is a quiet storm. There's scenes in that where I was just like, my mouth was just ajar, and I was like, is he gonna stop?
Well, I mean, the film starts with Frank. There's no context at all. It just opens with Frank Lucas in front of a guy, and then he lights him on fire.
Yeah.
And then he pulls a gun out and shoots him like 3 times in the head. Like, it's an incredible opening image, but like. Yeah, he is a brutal ass guy.
Yeah, he's real deal, dude.
Yeah, and like so pretty quickly the movie does chart like most of his rise, because basically he's the driver for Buddy Johnson.
Bumpy Johnson.
Yeah, Bumpy, who was like the old mob boss of this area.
Yeah. I'm curious about him too, because he okay, this is funny as fuck, but at first I thought it was Ray Liotta in blackface. I swear to God.
Why would that be the story?
Dude, what do you mean? Dude, it was early 2000s. I was looking for a second. I was like, is that Ray Liotta? Because they made his character like obviously African American, but like they made him talk like this, and he was like, I can't find the heart in anything. You can't find where to stab
It's
it.
still not acceptable in 2007, I think, to do blackface.
Dude,
when
did Tropic Thunder come out with Robert Downey Jr. doing
08, but that's a different. Yeah, it's a parody.
It's super meta. Yeah,
like it's deconstructed within the text of it. It's like It's So Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Like theirs is also like they tell you it's bad in the text of it.
I mean, to be
You're
frank,
supposed to be laughing at it. It's not.
I would
used
be
in a hurtful way.
I'd be super cool with Ray Liotta if that was actually Ray Liotta.
I mean, if someone was gonna pull it off,
it would be him.
Okay, fair enough. It'd just be Ray Liotta in a Ridley Scott movie from the 1000s, and like he just slipped it in. Like everyone was like, "Wait, did that just happen?"
Yeah,
because like but then he has an extensive cast of other people in the movie too. Yeah. So you're like, "Oh, that's fine." I guess like
the Denzel is cool with it, right? That's all they needed to greenlight. It was like they go, hey Denzel, right? So we were thinking for Bumpy Johnson, we want to get Ray Liotta. Okay, I know he wasn't. Ray Liotta's not black, right? But
the Goodfellas thing,
dude, we can make him look that way. Everyone in this movie looks weird. Speaking of that, it's what was up with black people having straight hair and shit, like fucking pompadours? I seen bro with the Uncle Charlie. He has the mustache and he has a perm instead of a straightened perm, and I was like, bro, what in the actual fuck?
It's definitely a case of every person needing to have like a distinct style where you're like, yeah, they all might just be rocking the same haircut.
Yeah, I can kind of see that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that there's something that's set up in the beginning that's really good, with Bumpy Johnson, where Bumpy's basically like the old school way of how things were being ran, and he's lamenting about the loss of the middleman. He's like, all these guys going straight to the supplier.
He goes, what happened to competition? It's supposed to be fair. Now you just cut out the middleman and nothing matters anymore. What about him? And he alluded to how everything lost its heart. You can no longer find the source of what things are, while he was in a super fucking discount store.
Straight up. And then he dies in there. Like it's like he's just he literally dies because it seems like he loses his will to like keep living.
Yeah, the whole time
he's like consumerism has gotten me.
Yeah, the whole time Denzel is like, yo man, you good? And he's like, yeah, but my heart. It starts going, oh. You're like, dude,
it's a very movie.
Dog is having the calmest heart attack I've ever seen.
That's it. Don't even call me an ambulance.
Yeah, I'm done. Hey, I'm done. Consumerism got me.
The Kmart got me, man.
Fuck yeah, I think he was 62 or 66 years old.
But like that first scene sets everything up that you need here, where it's like, okay, Denzel was like this guy's right-hand man, and he was listening to him, right? Like the two things that he does is cut out the middleman and, go straight to the source, because everything he knows is being cut, and that's what allows him to sell, as they say in the movie, his stuff for twice as cheap as everyone else, but it has twice as potent, because he's cutting it himself now.
Well, it's when Russell Crowe's character, Detective Richie, when he managed to get he managed to get a sample of the blue magic, and the chemist was like, usually the shit on the street 5, 10, 20%, it shows like it's this putrid brown type from the acid test. He goes to the other thing, he's like, this is a shit for the white people who are scared to shoot it in the fucking nice neighborhoods. This is some crazy shit. Which, shout out to Pulp Fiction, because it was the same in the scene when John Travolta went over, except it was heroin, I believe.
Oh, yeah?
And he was like, this isn't that N-word shit. This is the shit that white people get. And I was like, oh, my God. So black people really couldn't have shit. We couldn't even have nice drugs, man, until Frank Lucas.
Man. Man of the people.
Hey, cut out the middleman, dude. straight to the source, which that was, I mean, as much as it's a big negative, the drug crisis at that time was not a joke. And opiates are still like a very big problem today. Yeah. Just in a different form.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is like, this is the chart. I believe this is like the start of like, you know, it starts with U.S. soldiers
in Vietnam.
In Vietnam, I feel like as far as like really big numbers of people doing it. And then it comes back. And so you're right. I mean, this is kind of the root of a lot of that too, which is what's scary because you're like, oh yeah, this didn't have to be a problem potentially.
Yeah, like, it's scaled in size due to a failed like propaganda act by Nixon. The war on drugs was like the biggest failure because all it was to make money. Mm-hmm. It wasn't actually, you can't. It's like what Frank Lucas said at the end of the movie. You take me off these streets, you think anything is going to change? No, and it hasn't. And that's evident today. And in fact, it's just become less American, and now we rely on other countries to insource our drugs. Yeah. E.g. Mexico, China, so on and so forth. Obviously, that's how it was before, but in a different capacity.
It is crazy, though, because, like, you know, they definitely don't paint the importing of these drugs as an easy thing to pull off, right? I mean, the only reason they're able to fly it in is because, like, without it being checked, is because they're using military planes, right, you know, that have different clearances. Like,
did they ever?
It would be. I'm sure they're like. I'm just wondering. I'm like, people that do like send stuff into the country. Like, it's got to be a crazy ass operation.
Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, even today in the military, it's a lot of Mexican gangs that go into the military in order to go to the Middle East and act as these kind of couriers of sorts.
Oh, I see.
So there's like people in the Middle East who bang like MS-13 and shit, which is like, what? What the fuck is that?
That's insane.
These guys ride camels and they're on some fucking they're representing a gang that's like 5,000, 6,000 miles away. It's international at that point.
That makes sense though, because
like that's exactly what the mob boss was saying to Frank Lucas. Why not be international if there's no middleman, right?
Yeah.
It's very the levels of almost conspiracy that went into that whole era or whole scenarios kind of just, we could sit and talk about that honestly all day probably.
No, truly. I mean, yeah, it's crazy, the ramifications of all of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, so Russell Crowe is kind of playing the detective in this. That's
Detective Richie,
bringing everything down. You know, he's also training to become a lawyer, like, or you know, studying, taking the bar, all that. Yeah. Training though.
I gotta go to night school.
I gotta lift these books.
Well, it looks like you're not gonna make it. That was good. I love that shit.
Yeah, there's a really good cast of like actors in this. I mean, like Idris Elba is even playing like a small part.
Bro, T.I., Common.
Yep.
It's not. I want to call him John Boyega, but he's not. It's the brother.
Oh, Chitwell. Yeah. He rules.
He's amazing. I love his acting.
Yeah. Cuba Gooding Jr. is in here.
Who played?
Josh Brolin is like the cool detective. What is it? Trupo?
Yeah, Trupo.
Just a classic.
Why does Josh Brolin just play classic pieces of shit super well?
Dude,
I feel like he does that a lot.
He's incredible. Although I think because he's also in No Country for Old Men this year, and in that movie he's the protagonist. Right. And I think he's got a lot more empathy to him in that. But I mean, dude,
that's what I was gonna say.
A classic curmudgeon.
I feel
right?
like
he looks pissed off.
Yeah,
you know,
drinks black coffee, smells like cigarettes, hella bad.
Yeah.
Hey, you think about coming over that bridge? You call me. You make sure it's safe. You see a fucking Broadway show? You call me first. You understand?
It's honestly why they cast him as Thanos, I think. They're like, we need to get a mob boss in here to like show these superheroes like what's actually fucking like what a real criminal, dude, what a real supervillain's like. You know?
Can you imagine what was his name? Marlon Brando as fucking Thanos?
Yes.
You come to me on the day of the Infinity Stones gathering. You ask me for a fucking favor. Thanos snaps,
dude. Oh my god, right on him.
It'd be great if they like green screened the like his like underbite too. I'm sorry.
They green screen the cotton balls in his mouth.
Yeah.
You just see
That
him
shit's
poking
so
out.
good. So fucking good.
Dude, he would fuck with the MCU. Actually, he would fuck with the theater of it. I think
You know that he didn't like actually learn any of his lines ever.
straight up, yeah, dude. Actually, he would really fuck with the new Hollywood model. Like Johnny Depp, like on the last like Pirates film.
Yeah.
Like he would show up drunk on set allegedly, and then like he would have like an earpiece and they would just feed him lines.
Really?
And he would just say them like that. You're right, because he wouldn't learn them.
That's fucking awesome. That's beautiful.
And Marlon Brando, he had to do it analog. Like he had someone tape lines on their body in a shot in The Godfather.
Holy
and, like
shit.
you only see the dude's back, and then Marlon is like reading.
He's
off
like
the dude's,
25% in the frame, and then
Yeah.
Marlon Brando's like right there.
It's so funny.
That's so fucked up,
Yeah.
man. But hey, I honestly, like, as much as that would be a nightmare to work with as a writer, like, you have no idea. I'd probably start pulling out my hair. I'd be like, dude, just fucking read it. It's not
Dude,
that hard.
if he brings the juice,
Dude, yeah, if you
you
come
know?
in there and you don't recite any of the lines correct, but you came up with something way better, I'll go, all right,
You're
that's
like,
it.
I'm rewriting the rest of the movie.
Yeah,
around
I'm just
this,
going to
man.
write along what you say, okay? Oh, man. Some good shit.
Just thank
dude.
him for showing up.
Hey, thanks.
So glad to have you.
You're
here.
done for today, man. Go ahead.
You're a legend.
Just get out of here. Take it easy.
Marlon Brando should do long form improv. Like down at UCB or something.
That
Like
would be pretty sick. I could see him being hella sweaty and doing like a long-winded one, kind of.
Oh, yeah.
Hella spaced out.
like
and
a
just
5-minute monologue.
Yeah, he keeps-
like about screwdrivers or something. Like, but the audience is captivated.
A lot of people think a screwdriver's a tool. Me, I think it's a weapon of war.
There's like 8 other improvisers behind him, but they're all too terrified to come in. He usually just like waves someone on when he wants someone.
He sets the tone, and it's fucking that's that, dude. No one can come up after that guy.
It's truly.
Okay. So, another thing I actually wanted to touch on, since we were talking about the diverse and interesting cast.
Yeah.
T.I.'s character apparently could throw a 95-mile-per-hour fastball. I don't know. They didn't give any context to whether he played college ball or anything, but Frank Lucas said, "Oh yeah, cool. I'll have you meet up with the Yankees." Dude proceeds to go. He proceeds to go, man. T.I. literally, his acting range is T.I.
Yeah.
There's no like outside of the character of T.I. that he plays, and he goes, man, I don't even want to play ball no more, Uncle Frank. I want to be like you, man. And that's when I was like,
dude.
Oh, here's the foreshadowing. God damn it,
T.I.
dude.
doesn't exactly sell it that well, but
Dude, he sounds like he's from 2005 Atlanta. Like he doesn't sound like he's from. He doesn't sound like he's from North Carolina in like 1970, 1980, which is okay. It's not that. It's not that I really expected anything out of him. I think why a lot of directors like him was not like him, but use him was because it was really popular to use.
Oh yeah,
wanted like rappers who were aspiring to be actors.
Dude, yeah, RZA's in this too.
That's why Common was in a lot of fucking early 2000s movies. A lot of like
dude, it was a moment.
Black movies and shit like that. But
also like this does what Norbit wasn't able to do it well, right? Like Norbit had a great cast of like black talent, and like didn't utilize it at all. And like these are all like names but like everyone like kind of nails their little moment pretty well,
right?
And like there are a lot of good memorable performances in this too.
No, 1,000%, and that's what I was gonna say about why using raw charisma and like an idea of a person who already plays a character in real life is a really good actor to use in certain positions or certain characters. Because, like I said, you'd think it sounds like a bad thing when I said, oh, T.I. just came in this bitch acting like T.I. But really, it's like that's why you like it, right? That's why you're like, dude, good old T.I., dude, right?
And honestly, man, like Ridley Scott, like he just had this movie, The Last Duel, come out like last year, and it's got Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, and Ben Affleck plays like he kind of throws out the it's like an old movie, like a 17th century thing.
Oh, gotcha.
And like he kind of throws that away a little bit and just kind of acts kind of modern in some parts, and it's really funny when he does it.
Yeah,
because like the rest of it is pretty period accurate, but like his shit just is a little campy and a little hammy in a fun way. And it's like, you're right. Like, you can do it, like, also, it's a fucking movie. Like, this is based on true events. Like, we know this is not how it actually went
it's
down,
not a documentary. It's a biopic film, I suppose you could say, pretty much.
I mean, even less of less than that. But, yeah, just, like, inspired by it. It's just more about the moment. Like, there's some artistic liberties taken with the story and the timeline of things, let's say, right?
Right.
But it draws this really interesting parallel that makes you think about the different forces at play, right?
Right.
Like, I don't think the Richie Roberts character, like I don't think he was actually like divorced or anything like that.
Yeah, they just had to give him the standard Newark police or Jersey police background. Like,
of course,
I'm fucking hella strippers and informants and shit. My wife hates me.
And I really like his stuff, but also like I don't know if I needed I guess it paints him as more empathetic, but I don't know if you need all the
it gives him his
bad dad stuff.
Yeah, it just gives him his necessary character growth because the character started conflicted,
and
he's like,
he has a troubled past.
Yeah, and when they're in the courtroom and he goes, I'm sorry that I didn't take the money, and she goes, you think that it's about the money? It's not. Whether you took the money or not is not the point. The point is you should have been honest. And me being honest, you should have taken the money, because that's where she's a little like you could tell that her character is very rooted in the fact that he lies versus like what he thinks to be the issue.
Right.
And that's what's very fascinating about, honestly, about relationships, is that you could have such a large misunderstanding of someone else's perception of you. It affects the way that you go about things. Effectively.
Yeah.
So pretty much what I wanted to get across was in the first court scene, he's talking to his lawyer or representation, and she goes, you don't even really care. You just want her to suffer. You don't ever want her to win, right?
Right.
And he doesn't answer that, and then he goes to fuck her upstairs on the second floor. But that's, I think, why it was, I wouldn't say necessary, but I think that it was within well taste, because he got that character growth alongside his real, outside of the character that he thinks that he is.
Right.
Which is I'm a good cop, right? But being a good cop entails being a good person as well.
And you're right. It also sets him on the story. Like he needs redemption, right? Because he does have a troubled past. And so that's why he's working so hard at this one case, right? So... it's a pretty like open and standard like story, but I really love Russell Crowe. I think
Russell Crowe. I forgot how much I liked Russell Crowe until I seen that shit last night when I rewatched it. I was like, dude, he's fucking crazy. Guy's got good ass range on him.
You kind of see him in this pocket in The Nice Guys, which is a Shane Black movie where he's playing a detective. Him and Ryan Gosling.
Okay. For some reason, whenever I think about that movie, I thought it was a Big Lebowski guy.
The Coen brothers, or do you mean Jeff Bridges?
Who is it? He's like a bigger fellow that always plays in like mob movies.
John Goodman?
Yeah, John Goodman.
Got you.
I don't know why I thought Russell Crowe was John Goodman. Like in my mind, I think back on it, I just see John Goodman.
Yeah, late era or recent Russell Crowe is definitely a bigger guy.
Yeah. I don't know why, but fuck.
He's really funny in The Nice Guys.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more of a
pretty
riff
much
on this type of character.
That's what I was about to say. It's pretty much he's playing the same characters in a different scenario.
Just the absurd version of this.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
The very sad and pathetic version of this guy. Like,
one of my favorite scenes was he goes, in life, in this life, you're either somebody or you're nobody. And he goes, oh, hold on. Gets up. Everyone's like, what the fuck's going on? I was like, what the fuck's going on? And he sees
It's Frank Lucas that's doing this.
Frank Lucas, and he sees
and
Idris Elba's character.
He's just gotten like basically like a bunch of his family members that he's trying to bring into the gang.
Yeah, and
like
they're in the diner that he always goes to.
Yeah,
he brings the jar, and he goes up to Idris Elba and he goes, 20%. He goes, oh, really? This is how we're gonna do it, huh, Frank? Really? He goes, well, you owe me my money, man. He goes, you ain't getting dude, before he even finishes, Denzel Washington pulls out the gun. He goes, oh, what are you about to do, Frank? Shoot me in front of all these people? Doesn't even get to finish what he's saying there. Fucking no hesitation. Denzel fucking ices his ass.
Him, bro.
Yeah, ices his ass right fucking there. Puts the tip jar right beside his head. He goes, and that's 20%, motherfucker. Then goes back into the diner and goes, now what was I saying? Bro. Oh my God, that was hard. That was like the coldest scene.
It's definitely one of the moments where like Denzel first demonstrates like I'm the new boss in town because like Idris Elba was like pushing back against him at the funeral early on.
As soon as the guy died.
And then he's also like he basically is trying to like reclaim territory in the power scramble here.
Mm-hmm.
But it rules. I mean, yeah.
Well, another thing
it's also great now because like Idris Elba like wasn't a big actor at this time.
Yeah,
he was like like get in there.
Yeah.
He's cooking.
Yeah.
But like now you see it and like I mean the death is just so shocking because it feels like a disposal of a character that like you thought was going to be like a bigger conflict or something. Mm-hmm. But yeah, perfect demonstration of power.
Yeah, it was fucking beautiful. Especially what's crazy about it is that. Ain't nobody saying shit. Nobody's saying shit. That's why he could do it. He can do that. Anybody in Harlem can be killed by Frank Lucas and no one would do anything or tell anybody. And that's like the thing about community-based power.
Oh yeah, that's straight up.
It's pretty compelling.
He's built a network of people that are on his side for better or worse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's interesting because it's like it's that same network that leads to his downfall, because he starts letting like the Italian mob into the network, and then suddenly like the cops that were like dirty with the mobsters like come and follow him, and so it's like it worked when when he knew everyone in his family, but he scaled up too big and started relying on some people he shouldn't have.
Well, yeah, I mean. Especially when he was the one selling kilos to the Italians. That's when shit got spicy.
Yeah.
Because I forget what crime family syndicate the character is from, but it was the one that he was meeting with to discuss these business deals pretty much. And he was claiming himself to be a Renaissance man in the context of, I'm going to let a Negro be the boss, pretty much.
Right.
Which he was bold-faced lying, because I'm pretty sure all those Italian crime families lined up to snitch on him in the end of the film.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is painted that way, right? Like, who did he piss off that was turning on him? Because they get some members of, like, his family, like, on record, but that's just because they, like, one of his cousins, like, is found almost, he's charged for attempted murder, right?
And they're like, shot at his fucking crackhead girlfriend.
Exactly. So they're like, wear a wire, and we won't convict you.
Right. Yeah.
But like, other than that, like, no one in Frank's family was gonna snitch on him.
Yep.
And it had to be from like the outside forces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we skipped it, but there's a scene early on where Richie, that Detective Richie, played by Russell Crowe, finds a carload of $1 million unmarked bills, and him and his partner, and they're basically conflicted. Like, do we turn this in or do we not? Because we know if we turn this in, we're going to be seen as goody two-shoes, and no one's ever going to want to work with us again in the department.
Right.
And yeah, but if they leave it, it's $1 million. Like,
I mean, let me ask you, what would you do?
What would I do? I mean, dude.
Okay.
It's tough. I mean, theoretically, you got the $1 million in front of you, and you can just go, right? Like, I like why not? But also, it feels like the classic, like, there has to be a karmic force, like, to come back at you for it, right? Like if this is a true no strings attached situation, why wouldn't you? Especially if you knew like that money wasn't going to be used by the government in any effective way.
Right. Yeah.
Because like
it's outside the circulation.
it just goes back into the like whatever. Like either someone takes the money, someone else takes the money, that shouldn't get it, but they decide to. But yeah,
my thing on it is like, I'd like to view myself as a fairly moral person. I wouldn't hurt anybody, or I don't steal.
Right.
I would steal from like a company for shit show, but I'm too old for that now. But obviously, when you look at the moral confines that the character holds himself to, it's like he wants to prove he's good so bad that he's willing to throw away $1 million. Me, I don't need to prove to anyone that I'm good. I'm serious. Who the fuck do I need to prove to anyone that I'm good? The only person that you should really need to prove that to is someone that you share your life with or yourself. And if you yourself don't feel that you're good, then that's fine. But at the end of the day, I think Mr. Ritchie is a great person for the choices he made, and he shows conviction, which is what I can respect. But I think he also fell victim to the fact that 3/4 of the New York Police Department was corrupt. He wanted to be an outlier so bad to prove he is so good that he really missed an opportunity that could have changed not only his life, but his family's life.
Yeah, I mean, it's theoretically the best bribe in the world, right? Mm-hmm. Someone says, here's $1 million, and just walk away. Yeah. And like, this probably didn't happen to him, right?
Yeah.
but they're demonstrating, like, this dude is not gonna break.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who tries to bribe him. Doesn't matter what dirty cops he runs into. Mm-hmm. He's gonna find a way to push back.
Yep. And I mean, again, I respect the conviction, just not the choices I would have made per se. But at least I think when you ask yourself these questions, that's the importance of knowing is not only a measure of self-awareness, but a measure of like truthfulness to yourself. That's what's important, I suppose. Dude, Koda loves being on set today, dude.
We'll just do that.
Sweet little thing. That's like that.
Dude, I mean, I truly, like, through so much of this, I was so impressed by, like, how beautiful the street shots looked. Mm-hmm. They clearly shot this on film because it's got, like, a really great film grain on top of all of it.
There's a couple scenes with the George Washington Bridge in it, and it looks fucking crazy. Like, even they did, like, a early morning. It was either had to be really early in the morning or, like, 5 or 6 p.m., like, right when the sun is setting. Because there's just, like, almost a amberish cotton candy sky. And then the buildings, and then the George Washington Bridge, and it's an action shot. And I'm like, oh, man, that's fucking wonderful.
And there's such, like, cinematic movement to all, cinematic movement and speed to all of the shots, too. Like, I mean, they're all beautiful, and like you could linger there, but like it feels like they just move. But yeah, it's insane. They must have done so much set decoration on some of those exterior buildings.
Oh, 1,000%.
Because like this is in the era where like you can do a couple of the, like replace the skyline behind you and stuff like that with digital effects, but like they weren't relying on that typ of stuff too much.
CGI shit.
Yeah, this is still like a bit in the era of doing it practical if you can. I was gonna say there's a scene where Richie goes to save his partner. Basically his partner calls him in and it's like, oh dude, I fucked up. Like I shot a guy. Like there's a bunch of people outside. I need you to help me. And Richie shows up. He's not able to get any backup. And he's able to get inside. He gets through the crowd. And there's some paramedics in there. And the dude's definitely dead. Basically, Richie concocts a plan, which is to, like, clean the dude up, bandage him, and put him, like in the gurney. And just wheel him out and act like they're taking him to the hospital.
Right.
Which is one of those, like, it's a really great write yourself into a corner and then, like, figure out a clever way to get out of it. moments. But quickly after, we see that like Richie is like, confronting his partner. He's like, "What were you doing in there?"
Yeah, checks his arms.
Yeah,
make sure he's not on the smack, which he clearly is. Guy's fucking high out of his ass.
Oh yeah, and like he clearly robbed him, and then shot him, and it's like he essentially is like, I'm gonna have to turn you in. But his partner just
jumps out the fucking ambulance, dude.
Jumps out, man, fucking runs,
and is dead like within the next day or
couple days. Because what happens, I think, is that he gets blue magic,
and overdoses,
and he ODs on it, and that's what also triggers Richie into like, what is this stuff, because it's in his pocket. I gotta track this down. When he goes to the morgue, there's another detective there, played by Norman Reedus.
Yeah, I seen that, and I was like, "Wait, what? Was that just for like?"
He wasn't anybody really. Yeah, at that time.
He had what, like 5 lines?
Yeah, I mean,
4 maybe,
whatever it was.
He was an extra. That was pre-Walking Dead, bro.
Straight up. I mean, yeah.
And he has the same exact drip.
Oh yeah, it's crazy to see him this young though.
Yeah, he looked really young.
I just saw him in another movie too. It's like I forget. It was like 3 years after this, and like he still looked so fucking young. It's just insane.
Yeah, shout out to him.
Oh, I saw him in Blade 2. It was a couple years before this, actually.
That's crazy. I haven't watched the Blade movie in like almost 10 years, probably.
I just saw all 3 of the New Beverly.
Did you like the first Blade?
The first one was great. I really love that opening scene in the club when like it's a bunch of vampires in the club, and then they like squirt blood from the ceiling on them.
Everyone's going,
and then Blade shows up and everyone's like, "Fuck!" And then he just like tears through them.
I'm here for tax evasion, nigga. Then pulls out his blade and proceeds to kill hella vampires.
Yep. You nailed it, man.
Shout out Wesley Pipes, bro.
The second one was really good though. I really love Guillermo del Toro, and it's just a lot of fun, a lot of great action.
Yeah, he always makes things very fun.
Yeah, and he's very sentimental too and sincere. So like his movies end up working for me. Usually, I really like the heart of his films. What else we got here? Frank starts like seeing success in his business. We see him go over to Vietnam and basically meet the source and cut everything himself, and then
God tries to tell him, dude.
Quickly after that, he introduces his family into all this. He buys his mom a new house.
Well, that's what I was curious about. Did they ever explain how did Frank Lucas serve in the military or something?
No, he doesn't.
So the sergeant is just a random guy that he
has some kind of contact in there.
Okay, because I was under the assumption that Frank Lucas had served in some capacity, and that's how he was able to have his connections with the military.
I mean, maybe, man. I
didn't see anything on his wiki. I looked it up afterwards. He lives to be 90. By the way.
I think he gets like a passport made for him though at one point in the movie, like before he's going to Vietnam.
Yeah.
Like I think they just whip him up a fake identity. I don't think he ever has to serve, to have that connection. But I don't know how he meets the guy who's over there.
Yeah, the military, like the guy that takes his calls, pretty much.
Right.
Yeah.
But it must be one of those prior connection things. I got a guy in the military.
No context connection, but it's okay. Things. We didn't need all that really, because you got the gist pretty much.
Yeah. Okay.
I wonder if there's still opium growing in Vietnam right now. Matter of fact.
Yeah, bro. There's a bit in here. So Richie gets news that he passes the bar exam, and he's like running just through New York. I think he's tracing the money in this scene, but he goes to the Joker steps.
Does he?
Yeah.
What?
Dude, they showed the steps from Joker in this film.
I didn't fucking catch that. That's crazy.
They've been in a million films.
Really?
Yeah, that but nobody's used it
That way.
Exactly.
Joaquin Phoenix dance style. That shit was really good.
Don't know, man.
That shit was so good.
What? That shit is not great.
What do you mean?
That shit is not good.
Dude, Louis, you're going to piss. Now I'm pissed off. What the fuck do you mean that wasn't good, dude? How are you going to sit there and tell me fucking dude. Bro, that's just hitting hard, homie. Joaquin Phoenix may not have rhythm, but he committed to that so hard.
Oh, man. He gave a good performance, but that movie is not good. That's not a good needle drop either.
Dude, oh, did you just say the whole movie is not good?
Yeah.
What?
Jay, we don't need to get into
it. Dude, we're gonna turn off the camera. We're gonna start yelling at each other.
It's very. I think it's very reductive in its depiction of mental illness, and like the fact that they make it so broad in general. And then also, again, Joaquin gives a great performance, good score, looks great, but like the script is like such a misfire. And like to me, I really love The King of Comedy and Taxi Driver. I would just rather watch those movies. I think it's not a really great riff on them.
I kind of feel that actually.
But I get why a lot of people who haven't seen a lot of movies love it. I think there's a reason why it made $1 billion. You know,
this guy's trying to tell me I don't know movies.
I'm not saying that, man. I'm just saying Joker's not for me. Yeah,
let's not get into that because I had like a clap back and it was a whole fucking thing. And you know what?
I mean, man, defend it.
Get my shit off. I mean, I just think what you said about the dulling down or the dumbing down of mental health awareness. I can see that point. I can't devil's advocate that one because, like, for sure, I can kind of see that.
It's just very, like, welfare, like, they're like, oh, he's this is why he's bad. It's because his mom is, like, was, like, repainting reality for him and, like, gaslighting him, and he's off of his meds, and he was born with this, and that. Like, you're just, like, I get it. The idea is it's all compounding, or maybe you're not aware of like where any one of these like which one of these things is what made him the Joker, but like it feel I would rather just I like the other takes like Alan Moore.
Don't you think that this version of Joker is pretty much saying that the reason why Joker is the way he is society made me the way I am?
Well,
there's versus like the Dark Knight Joker where he's like, do you see these guys?
For sure. There's certainly like some incel stuff in there too. And like, society, that's the part of the society made me this way is like society said that I couldn't have the drugs I needed,
Right.
And like,
I could see
society said that I can't have a fantasy relationship with this girl.
Okay. I could see where the quip becomes fucking stupid. Like, I get it. I feel that. I just think, like, my only defense overall was just that I think this is a more humanized version of Joker, despite it being so muddled down with like the 2022 recipe. Right?
I appreciate the artistic swing of it, and actually like
that's what's fun about it to me.
And also, like, you're right. It's probably I don't know where it would fall in my MCU ranking, but there's definitely Marvel movies below it.
Yeah.
But there's Marvel movies above it too.
And I mean, I still have to say Heath Ledger Joker is like still the greatest of all time.
That's no one's gonna touch that.
I think that Joker, like, I brought up the fucking you see these scars thing because his dad fucking gave him the what's the thing? It's like a
that's the beauty of the Dark Knight Joker is that his backstory changes in every scene. So he says his dad gave it to him in one of them.
Oh, you're right.
He cut it himself in another one. But yeah. Anyways, all I was gonna say is like I think if it wasn't Joaquin Phoenix in that film,
it would have crashed hard.
I think it would have crashed. I don't think that script would have supported it, but he does give a great ass performance.
And you know who it would have
been? To be honest, Joker 2 could be killer. It's gonna be a musical. It got Lady Gaga playing Harley Quinn.
I know.
I'm like, I'm gonna go
right
see
up
it,
your alley.
but
I know it is, dude.
But also,
I know it is.
Who knows, man?
It's right up your shit, dude.
Who knows? So basically, Richie is trailing some drugs, and he's trying to figure out. Basically, he sells some drugs to a supplier, tracing it back to the source, and he finds Josh Brolin and some of the other dirty cops. He asks for like his money back from them, and basically Josh Brolin big dicks him. Yeah, stay out of New York. Stay out of New York.
Yep. You ever think about crossing that bridge? You fucking call me. You understand?
Which is great too, because then later, Josh Brolin's character comes to New Jersey, and he's trying to like, he's basically trying to get Richie to lay off Frank. He's like, what are you doing? He's a cash cow. Yeah.
What's the matter with you? He's a fucking cash cow. We got to work together.
And then Richie's like, oh, you didn't hear? I turned down $1 million.
Yeah.
Unmarked bills.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that
it's
shit.
So good, dude.
It's just it's great.
Frank Lucas's own hubris didn't allow him to see the inevitable end. Anybody from an outside perspective would have seen, like, it's like if I had a shipping business and it relied on me shipping medical equipment to Vietnam soldiers. The war's ending. My company is done.
Right.
Like you have to. There's no like, oh no. I can still. There's still places where people fight, right? Oh, just go there. Now you're like pushing the bill on an idea that solely depended on war.
No, you're right. I mean, it's interesting because like we just ended our war in the Middle East and pulled out, and people are wondering like, oh, are we going to take on the cartel? Like there were rumors of that. Like, are just because like, does America need another war to be in business? And now there's the Russia-Ukraine war, so. I mean, we're not going to be jumping to get into Mexico or anything like that.
I mean, it's the Roman tactic of a civil union needs a greater enemy to threaten said union in order to force the people into being cohesive as a unit. So as long as there's always a greater enemy in the world, people will always, for the most part, we live in a strange age of division right now. But I think if another like 9/11, for example, were to happen, we'd be right back into gung-ho, like, oh, what? What about civil rights again? Nah, bro, we have to fucking, this is America.
Yeah, even 9/11 was, like a attack to, to bait us into overreacting, to pour us into an area and overstretch our resources because they know that's what we do. And exactly, that's what made the Roman Empire fail, right?
Yep. Was
that they couldn't, keep a grasp on everything that they had, as mighty as their nation was at whatever point, And
even on a micro scale, you can say pretty much the same thing happened to Frank Lucas. As soon as he made that commitment to go international with the Mazzano crime family,
he didn't have a tight enough grip on everything.
Well, that's too much for one man and his 20 cousins to handle.
Yeah, he couldn't even control his brother, right? Yeah. Let alone like
guy had to get his ass. You personally have to kick your own brother's ass. That's when you know shit's fucked up. You need a guy who kicks your guys' asses instead of you personally. But
it does say a lot that like so Frank Lucas was the driver for Bugsy, right? Or what is it, Bunny?
Bumpy.
Yeah. Frank Lucas was the driver for Bumpy, and his brother's driver is just like the dude that shoots a cop, right? Like he doesn't know what the fuck's going on at all, and you're like that dude could have been the next guy to take over if this whole operation was smart, right?
I guess
or ran well.
Maybe it's and maybe I could be overreading into the script, but there's a scene where Frank Lucas and Ava are talking, and he goes, he was a teacher in reference to Bumpy, and he goes, he taught me a lot of things. And then there's like a scene where he's like coming out of a closet and shoots this guy in the head, and he goes, he taught me how to be patient, how to wait for my time. And I think that was like a little bit of like irony there, because he never had the patience to teach them, his cousins and his brothers, like the right way that Bumpy did for him, because he was just as violent as the fucking guy that is his little cousin. But he immediately was like, fuck my cousin, send him back home, he's done. Immediately, didn't give him a second chance. And that's when things tend to, although you feed them, they will bite your hand, because you betrayed their love and trust in some aspect.
Yep.
I thought that was interesting. There's just a lot of really good writing in that.
It's great. I mean, yeah, the whole thing is structured really well. I mean, yeah, and then exactly like we're getting into the quitting while you're ahead is not quitting. You know, like that whole sentiment there, for Frank to learn, and yeah,
hey, also, dude only served like 12 years. Got sentenced to 70. Got it reduced to
75. Yeah, down to 12. Yeah.
Got out in 1991.
Gave up a lot of cops.
Hell yeah, fuck those motherfuckers, man.
Oh yeah,
bro.
Fuck the pigs.
Especially if and this is like the last thing I'll go into pretty much with it, but when he says, "You think I give a shit about no cops, man? Fuck them cops!" throws the coffee away.
The coffee.
Yeah.
Well, that scene is so good. Like we have to unpack it too, because like the coffee, like they like he hits the one coffee, but then the second coffee becomes like a negotiation.
It's a mediation tool.
Right?
Yeah,
where
exactly.
Russell Crowe like is like, okay, what can I do for you, and pushes it across there, and then Denzel's, what can you do for me? Like that type of thing. Yeah.
And as short as that scene was, like the power in it was beautiful, because you get Frank's motivation. It's
perfect.
For hating fucking police, because they dragged out a 12-year-old boy, tied him to a pole, and broke his teeth with a shotgun barrel, and then shot him twice in the head. That would I was thinking about if that was me, dude. Me personally, like I might sound like a psychopath when it like reacting this way, but I'm for sure like killing cops at some point in my life. No, for real. What? I'm for sure taking one because like, dude, you can never see life the same after that. I was really trying to put myself in the.
And that's Frank's life. I mean, that's what he came from. Like he's never gonna forget the type of violence that was inflicted upon him, and what the system did to him, right?
Yeah, and
like
hate begets more hate.
Yeah.
So the cycle is always fulfilling itself.
I was gonna say there's also a scene where basically they're like Richie is investigating the helicopter that comes in with the drugs, the heroin from Vietnam, or not the plane, but yeah. There's a scene where like they get chewed out by like an official, and it's played by Roger Bart, who's just he's mostly known for like his theater acting.
I liked his performance.
He was really good.
He said, "Shut the fuck up." He said, "You think that you could come in here and do whatever the fuck you think you want?" Then he goes, "Oh, but Frank Lucas," he goes, "No," and I quote, "No N-word could achieve what the Italian mobs have achieved in the past 100 years." Yep. Then proceeds to call him a K word, which I'm not going to say. But holy shit.
It's so great though. Like it's just perfectly distilled right there. Yeah. Just fucking awesome.
And I think this is a decent juxtaposition, because like you see in Great Debaters, right? The transition of white people. It's like when they go up north, they're like, they're dressed up nice, they're all kind, they treat them like human beings. But then you get this is the same type of person. Like
straight up.
They represented the North progressionism.
Yeah.
This is the same guy that's not only dropping an N-bomb, but then a K-bomb to a person. I'm not even sure if he knows if he's Jewish or not. He just said, "Get him out of my fucking face." And I was like, oh.
He's just like a biget, but like also, he feels like he's a refined person. Like he doesn't even understand.
He thinks he represents a progression, a renaissance of equality,
right? Which
in his mind, he still is out here saying N-words and F-words and all sorts of bigoted shit. Exactly, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. He would be a transphobe today.
Bro, 1,000%. If a black man married his daughter,
he just keeps saying all the things he's saying right now. That's it, right? You know,
I mean,
50 years later, it's just.
I bet you,
it can be the same
still
discussion.
Alive, still saying the N-word and shit.
Oh yeah,
damn N-word.
Saying it in his grave.
Yeah, rolling in his grave, fucking saying the F-word.
Yeah, I mean, they basically, Richie and Frank work together though to take out all the cops, and that's pretty much the end of the film.
Which I thought was super satisfying.
There's a great scene where you see Trupo. He kills himself.
Yep. Goes out with his morning paper, fucking blasts.
I was thinking
Ridley's
not going to shoot this in a way that doesn't feel cinematic, because You know,
loved the fucking
he shoots himself like on the lawn chair
the
and
terrace.
then on the terrace, and there's like a umbrella kind of cover above him, and it's white, and then the entire thing's covered with blood.
And
like
then
it looks awesome.
The maid or the housekeeper is in there, but you can only see her shadow.
Yeah, well, she's just vacuuming in the back.
That's
yeah.
what I thought
Great
was
foreground versus background. Yeah,
that's fucking I love that shit.
Just dynamic scenes. You know, everything is staged. Everything is composed, and like even though that's only like a 15-second scene, like it's just why this movie moves. Like even though it's 2.5 hours, it doesn't feel like 2.5 hours.
No, not at all. There's almost like a immediate pace increase when we go from Great Debaters to American Gangster.
Yeah.
Even though they're nearly the same duration of time, Great Debaters felt so much more slow to me, and I think it's because I was like, all right, well,
they take their time. For sure.
It's very linear.
I mean,
and
it's
very
2 hours. It's even shorter, right?
Yeah, I think Great Debaters is 2 hours 3 minutes.
But also, there's no scene in Great Debaters where Denzel Washington pulls out a gun and shoots a guy in the face. That'll put a little more energy into your step in any film, right?
I think they actually, and I'll just say this now before I forget. I think both films made a very important representation and contrast of what happened to Black society. So we went from the Mr. Tolston says the education of the children of tomorrow is our most important job. Then you have characters like Farmer Senior, who speaks 6 languages, he's a college professor, works at a college, and is also a Negro, which is like groundbreaking. These are the things that we used to want as a community, as a whole. We wanted to be more progressive. Now, when you look at it, a lot of that shit is discounted by all that matters is now niggas getting money. Nobody wants to be smart. I mean, and I'm not like, I don't want to like say this as a whole, but I feel like it's necessary. No one is pushing anybody to be better than what they are. We're so mired in like race identity issues and people just trying to find their place and acceptance in the world that they're not able to really excel in the ways that are necessary. Yeah. And then I get into American Gangster, and it literally shows the degradation of the Black community in front of me. So we go from Black men and women debating at Yale about why they should be able to be admitted to schools where white people go, to the degradation of Black society, where a chosen few are given the opportunity to make millions of dollars off of the backs of their own communities. And they think that they're outsmarting the white man. You're not. You end up working for him. And you end up destroying the thing that you worked so hard to build.
Straight up.
And now it didn't change past the 80s. It didn't change in the 90s. And if anything, it's gotten more violent with shit. Niggas would rather be in the league or fucking be a rapper than be a professor like Neil deGrasse Tyson. Definitely. I'm not saying nothing's wrong with that. That's super great and all. But that's exactly what William Lynch would have wanted. And William Lynch he's mentioned in Great Debaters by Mr. Tolston, but he also wrote a book called 100 Years a Slave. And it goes into detail of how you can keep Black people down as a community by separating them and giving wealth to some and none to others. Create light skins and value them more than dark skins. Yep. These are things that are ingrained in people's minds, and they don't really even understand it. This is like a tool of control. It's not really the way the world works.
Well, and it's a tool of capitalism too, as a whole, because it essentially, like, what's happening here is like Black people had to fight for the right to even be like considered equal with other citizens. But the moment like those rights came in and rights for women came in, like they realized, okay, like we can now profit off of like the masses. Like they decided like, oh, we just need to, we'll treat everyone equal, but then we'll treat that level lower and lower and lower. Right.
Class division amongst the community.
Exactly. Like they just started bringing class division in, even in, it happens in every race, really. I mean, too, because like it's only become more and more of a problem. Yeah, it feels like culturally.
I just feel like it's really sad because like even in American Gangster, like all those crime lords is like what everyone wants to be. I want to be a baller. I want to be a pimp. I want to be this. I want to be that. I want to be a gangster for real. And then, you know, again, the juxtaposition is so just stunning to see the change in values in the community. And, like, that change of values literally led to exclusivity where 1% of us are very wealthy and the other 99% of niggas ain't up to shit, apparently.
Dude,
And don't get...
That's the capitalist, like, dream is, like, oh, I could be as rich as Elon Musk one day if I came up with the right business, yada, yada. And you're not even thinking about what he started with and what resources he, you know, allowed him to get there.
First thing you're missing is what can I do to serve my community, or what can I do to serve like those immediate around me,
right.
Which is like not what anybody starts their train of thought with.
No, in a capitalist world, it's about survival, right? Like, yeah. It's great stuff, man.
It's crazy. I just felt it struck me right in like my black card. Like I was like, damn, bro, I feel very strongly about this, and I'll be honest at the same time, because I am like multi-ethnic. Sometimes I'm like, I'll leave it to someone who's more black than me to say it. But honestly, that's part of the problem. Nobody like it. It's up to people who see things.
It's up to everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that's why I thought it was really compelling.
Yeah, fuck it. All right, I just need to get one more thing up. I just like to have a cast list. Damn, bro.
Yeah, it'll be nice because I only remember Mr. Tolston from Great Debaters, which is obviously Denzel.
Mr. Tolston.
I don't know anybody else's name. Farmer Jr. That's it.
Well, I was just gonna call him Junior.
yeah, that works.
Farmer Jr. Farmer Jr. All right. Those there.
Farmer Jr. on the beat. Yeah. Oh, shit. That's a good tag.
Dude. Farmer Jr. Farmer Jr.
I'm a farmer. I'm a fucker. I'm a late night hunted tucker. Nantucket buckets. I be getting buckets.
What do you think Farmer Jr. like was a farmer of?
A farmer of knowledge, homie.
Farmer of knowledge.
Just like fucking Farmer bro. Senior, bro.
He cultivated that shit.
Senior speaking 7 different languages. He's in the booth speaking Latin and shit.
So you're saying like Farmer Junior's like a zombie? Like cultivating brains?
He's cultivating his own brain, I suppose. Like it's like an anti-zombie, you feel me? Like so self-aware that you're trapped by your own awareness, you know?
Yeah.
But that's his critical flaw. And he fulfills that, or he unravels that flaw at the end of the movie.
That's a perfect reading.
I think so. I think if like me and the writer sat in the same room, they'd be like, "Dude, you fucking genius. You want a job?" I'll go, "Shit, homie. I don't work for idiots."
I think they'd dap you up and be like, "Dude, you got it." They'd be like, "That was in the subtext of that script, but like." I didn't know how to bring it out, man.
I'll go, it's cool, man. You just weren't as talented as a writer as me. Like I could have delivered, but it's cool.
Well, they're like, I saw a world where like that could be my script, but you know, I can't deliver.
Yeah, man. Some of us just can't deliver. Me, I'm a finisher. I finished the job, homie. Hey guys.
All right. Okay.
Ready as I'll ever be.
Let's do it, baby. Welcome back from the break. We have The Great Debaters, directed by Denzel Washington. This is Denzel Washington's directorial debut. I believe he's directed a couple other films. He did Fences, which is based on an August Wilson play. He's played a lot of leads in August Wilson plays on Broadway, actually. Mm-hmm. Even his son John David Washington also just played a role in an August Wilson play on Broadway. Mm-hmm. I actually caught it. It's called The Piano Lesson, but he's really good in it. Denzel Washington's got a couple other films. Actually, I'm sorry, this wasn't his first film. He did one other film before this, Antoine Fisher, in 2002. But yeah, I mean, he only has a few directorial features. I mean, he's really worked with just about every big director you could name.
Yeah.
You know, he's got the Coen brothers recently. He has Tony Scott. He's got Spike Lee. He did with Malcolm X. Man, I'm trying to think here. I mean, Flight, he did that with Robert Zemeckis.
Yeah,
Which,
I forgot about that
like,
shit. He's pretty much
that's
done
out
like
there.
everything, dude.
Yeah, just an extensive career for sure. Yeah, it's so. I mean, I'm sure he has a lot of insight there, but I think he produces films too now a bit. I think he's gotten into that. Yeah, but anyways, what'd you think about The Great Debaters?
I thought it was great. Pace wise, wasn't. I mean, it's a fairly linear story, so you go into it kind of knowing what to expect right away. Denzel Washington played a great role. I feel like he as an actor has many facets, but sometimes you just don't know what to expect from him because it's really hard to read what his next move is going to be.
I think he grounds this film really well. Like he does a really good. So this is basically about a debate team, and kind of like they're an all black debate team and kind of the hardships that they're facing, trying to, compete at different colleges and be taken seriously in the academic world.
Right.
But Denzel Washington's basically the teacher, or the guy who's like mentoring all of these students, and it's great because he isn't exactly the protagonist of the film. We're seeing a lot of it through James Farmer Jr.'s perspective,
right?
But every time Denzel's there, like if you just feel like you're in good hands,
Right. Yeah, he plays a very good supporting role throughout the movie, I would say.
I'm sure he's top billed in this, though, because it's him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 1,000%.
But
I'd say, like, the very first half of the film is less of a supportive role from him.
Right.
And more of an active role. And I think they do it very well because it's framed very well in terms of, like, a mini hero's journey for all the debaters. They have their own resolutions at different points throughout the film, which leads them to work cohesively better as a group,
as a team, exactly.
Right. And I think that the historical context in both American Gangster and in this film play a very important role in the world setting, how everything feels, and I think they represented that super well, especially in the beginning scenes when Mr. Tolston is dressed up as like a sharecropper. And he's in that random like jazz bar or a like funk area that all the black people go to and go hang out. And you see one of the students or soon to be students getting into a fist fight with big old dude,
big boy,
fucks him up. Guy's armed with a little straight razor, still wins the fight, and it's stopped by Mr. Tolston, which. At that point, I was like, dude, what is this, like some fucking flashback? Like, is this Roots days and shit? Like, was Mr. Tolston like some sort of second generation slave? Like, what's going on here? And then, of course, you get a lot more context into what he's actually doing. And that alone plays like a really big role in like everything is an allegory to a debate, like how to really present a factual, logical debate. And part of the reason why he's dressed up as a sharecropper in that scene, which you'll figure out later in the film, is that he's trying to present himself a certain way to people to connect with them on a more base level. So it's like the psychological aspect of how you present yourself to people is part of is a part of the delivery of convincing.
It's great too because like people think that debating is just arguing. And I think like the screenplay here introduces the concepts of debating really well,
right? And
the kind of mind shift you have to have going into it, right? Like, don't put up a fallacy, right? Yeah. Like if something feels emotionally right, it can be picked apart by logic, but that's also like a fun push and pull at times. Is like it feels like there are times where some of these people need to get a hold of their emotions a little more in their debate, and other ones need to stir more of it up to inspire themselves.
Right. Which makes me think of two particular scenes. One I have a note on. The second I just thought of in the moment, but you have the scene where I think his name is Book with an E.
Yeah.
Book, the Farmer Jr. and Samantha make the team.
Right.
And Mr. Tolston says, all right, tell me something about yourself that I don't already know, or people don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, I love this.
And when Book goes,
yes,
why don't you tell me about yourself? And he goes, this isn't a debate. And Book replies something along the lines of like, but isn't it though?
right. Like we're in a conversation.
Yeah,
like,
this
you
is
know,
what
like,
it.
like
Yeah, this
yeah.
is the fundaments of.
But then, yeah, it's great because then Tolson, like, you know, also like flips it. He's like, okay, I'll take the affirmative. Then you know, he's like, if we're doing a debate, then I'm setting the terms right here. Like, let's go.
Which is like, he delivers a simple notion of you don't need to know about me in order to succeed in this dating circle, but he pulls it with an analogy that ties it to everyone.
Exactly, but he also hints at like what his greater trauma probably is, which is like what makes that moment like so beautiful. Because like, yeah, he's a closed off character.
Yeah,
we get into his like civil rights and kind of like work. Because he's trying to like get a bunch of farmers together, everyone to unionize.
Everyone at the time thinks he's a fucking commie because anyone who forms a union is a commie or a socialist, and both of those are big bad at the time.
I mean, it's exactly, and you know the propaganda against those words just starts here and keeps going, right? Like it's just it's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah.
Again, so much has changed, but hasn't, you know.
And the second one that I actually wanted to bring up was this film really touches on themes of fact versus conjecture.
Yes.
And this is something really important for today's world is there's a lot of misinformation that goes around without verification.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people can be subject to a completely false narrative without really understanding why, or they don't know how to do their research or fact checking very much. And it's because, much like Tolson said, these fallacies that people engage in are entirely emotional. So it's like all based off whether it be fear or excitement or
what
curiosity.
Feels right, you know?
Exactly. Oh, it feels as if
you
know, it's aliens, or it feels as if it's a government conspiracy.
Right.
But
it's easier to have an answer or a scapegoat than to not to have an unvalued,
right? Because we have a
consistent,
we have a consistent and unbearable need
to
know. But I really appreciated that because that's how, I mean, I don't purposely look at things like that, but I don't really gauge things off how I feel. Things need to be said and spoken about first before you go with how you feel in your heart.
Yeah.
Of course, don't take that for everything. Of course, emotion plays its part.
No, but there's great scenes where like there's a scene where Samantha Buck, it's like one of her first public debating kind of forum speeches, and they're out in a tent. They got a bunch of white Southerners basically in front of them, and you know they're debating like whether black people should be admitted into college, and that was exactly, you know, it's a point of the time. You know, like if you were to go to a debate school or a debate class or club or one of their meets nowadays, you know, abortion might be a thing that comes up because it's something that's being talked about legally, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe 10 years ago, you would have seen gay marriage on the docket of discussion too. And like, you know, people were really talking about these points, and like this was a way to get people talking about the things. And you feel it where Samantha Buck like is almost winning over the audience onto her point that like because the guy she's debating against, you know, he essentially starts to give up in the debate because he gives her like some leverage. He's like, okay, yeah, some white people are out of their range, you know, but like he shifts his argument to be like black people won't be happy at a college where people aren't accepting them, and it's like, so one day it'll be fine to do it, but like today we shouldn't do it because they won't be happy. And then she gets to flip that into being, well, if not today, then when? Next week, next year, 10 years from now, 100 years from now, like we have to do this now as something we're speaking. And like,
something based in logic versus, oh, I feel like he wouldn't be happy.
Right. And like, it's just, it's so great. Like, cause she has beat him with facts. So he, you know, retorts to like, okay, I'm going to try to dismiss some of this with the emotional logic.
Which that's what the beauty I find in debating. I mean, dude, I like to fucking argue. And not argue, but play devil's advocate only because it's
discuss.
Yeah, it's necessary
because
that's how you, like, I don't get mad when people disagree, or we were just fucking talking about the Joker, and I was like, bro, we're gonna have to turn off the fucking camera because we need to talk about this. But like, it's not like I'm gonna be like, dude. It's not like I'm gonna after this podcast be like, bro, you're
We
fucking
can't hang out anymore.
dude. Don't come over anymore. Like, you're straight up pissed me off. People can't seem to have a civil disagreement, and that's what I like to have those conversations. And people get really mad because it's not like they're too emotionally invested in a something that's requires critical thinking, and like it's not. It doesn't have to be an attack, and it doesn't have to be like that. We should be able to have a civil conversation where you explain your viewpoints and I explain why I think those are wrong, and then we go, okay, well, that's fine. It's the same scene from Great Debaters with Forrest Whitaker and Denzel.
Yes,
Farmer Senior and him, and he goes, "Hey, brother, don't confuse yourself with Jesus, because that's when you start to get lost." And he says, "Well, I'm not convinced. I know."
That's maybe like the best scene in the movie.
Yes,
because it's just the two of them like broing down, and like they are talking academically with one another, but like you can just tell like that they are having so much fun. Like the way they start like laughing with each other. And, like it's it's awesome. And Forrest Whitaker does a really great job in this.
Amazing in that movie.
I don't think we've pointed out, but his son is playing Junior in this film.
Oh, that's actually his kid?
That's just his kid, straight up.
That's awesome. No, I mean, when I was watching that, I was like, dude, I wish my dad was like Forrest Whitaker. And like, as much as I'd be scared, I'd be like, dude, this guy like gives a shit. You feel me? Like he really is when his son's like, oh, I'm going to the debate thing, he doesn't look up from his scripts or anything, but he goes, "I wish you the best of luck, son." And I'm just like, oh man.
Yeah, the dad not giving him anything.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is he's like, he treats everything so cordially and academic. He's like, me treating you this way is me giving you respect as a person, right? Like me not getting excited for you, and you're like, Dad, just get excited.
Yeah, the scene where he makes the team, and he's like, Dad, and he's like, Junior. He goes, Junior, what is a man's greatest hubris? He goes, I don't know, like doubt, I guess. And he goes, oh, that's good. That's right, son. Yeah. Thank you, Junior. He's like, Dad. And he still is like, yeah, that's right. And it's like, as much as you have to, like, I respect intellectualism very much. So it's like, Junior, like, loves that about his dad, but at the same time, your mind is in realms that are far away that remove you from the personal aspects of your life.
And it's a great scene too, because like, that Junior, like once Junior's like, I'm an alternate, his dad's like, all right, who's ahead of you? Like it doesn't matter that he's 14 and he's on a team with like other people that are like 4 or 5 years older than him. And he's like, no, you need to be the first guy on that team, So be hard to impress that guy. A dude who speaks 7 languages.
It would be, but sometimes, I mean, it's sometimes that's the motivation you need, like as a young man, to gain the willpower needed to like succeed, right? Because when he's telling him like, when Junior was he was stealthily watching the farmers union meeting, and it got hella dangerous, and those white people drove a car through the whole thing, and he couldn't tell his dad where he was. Dude, Farmer Senior is starting to fucking use it. He said, boy, you coming up, you been drinking? Because you're surely not coming up in my house, not telling me where you been at.
Kid's 14.
Like, I was like, oh, shit. Yeah. I was like, bro, I'm scared. But with that being said, like,
Junior looks so young, too.
Dude,
like, you're just like, so this kid hasn't done shit.
Yeah,
like,
he didn't do anything. But you're at the same time, like,
it's real, man.
Yeah, it's real, and it's a lot.
He comes apart after that. He's like, I'm not gonna let my son be corrupted.
Yeah,
like, that's literally what he says.
Yeah,
like,
which there's obviously that's him being taken by emotion and crossing the line, especially when he strikes him.
Right,
but I think that when you grow up in an environment like that, it's really hard to succeed under that pressure. But at the same time, it sets up like, here's an ideal male figure in your life that actually represents something like the truth, something Socratic, something philosophical, something that's bigger than what a man should be. And not a lot of us really get that, and I think that sets a lot of men back in life sometimes.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's a great. You are right. He's a great ideal and a great figure like to aspire to, because you know it's possible because he's doing it, right? Like. That even though his expectations are high.
Oh, and his sister's one of the 2 only Negro lawyers in Texas.
Yeah.
So not only is your dad cracked,
But the whole
but
family,
your
right?
aunt is also like the only lawyer, or one of two only black lawyers in all of Texas. It's fucking nuts, right?
Yeah. Go down.
Don't worry. But
no, it's good, man. What do you think about the little kind of love triangle going on here?
Disney Channel levels of trope.
Straight up.
You already knew
Straight up, man.
Homeboy didn't have a chance, and he did the whole like the scene where he's like putting on fucking aftershave. He goes, gets hella hyped up. I'm like, boy, you about to smell good as shit for no reason because she's not giving you the time of day. But
so funny when Junior like thought he could he's like he sees her dancing and he's like,
yeah, and he starts thinking his hymn,
and then she's like, "Do you want to dance?"
Yeah, and I don't know. I kind of feel
14, man.
Yeah, when you're 14, 13, because I feel like I've been in a situation like that, but like with my babysitter or something. Like she's hanging out with her boyfriend, and I was like, you're doing shit without me. You do it all the time, and you couldn't help but sympathize with him because you're like, damn, poor guy doesn't stand a fucking chance, right? But I mean, it was Disney levels of trope. I didn't need to pay attention. As soon as my boy fucking hit, I was like, and he seen the shoes in the room when he was like, come on, the debating team's getting ready. He's like, I just have to clean my house. And he like looks past him and sees the Samantha's heels on the ground, and he goes, right, yeah, I'll just let you clean your house. I was like, it's over. I was like, that motherfucker's done, dude. Yeah. I mean, so not much to like speak on there. Of course, like the book, The More Grown, of the two boys. He had his temptations when he was they were in Boston,
right,
at the Harvard debate, and they never really followed up on that. Like it was like he's seen a woman and she was all beautiful and she's smiling at him and he was just like. And then it cuts, or it does a 2000s transition overlap
exactly.
of the girl Samantha's sleeping face, and he goes, "Damn, man." Gets up, leaves. I assume they just cut to the next day. So.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume like he's the type of guy who once he he's shown the bigger world, and he's like, okay, cool, like
I mean, he's
let me bounce.
Super intelligent, so you kind of expect that of him in that moment. But that's kind of what I meant by the linear pace of the film,
right? I mean, that's the thing. It's not about these relationships. It's about the debates. It's just like
the journey.
And all of this is just to add some extra flavor and tension to their classroom scenes and all that.
Well, and it's how you make characters feel alive, right?
Right.
Sometimes
that they got actual personal shit going on.
When I'm writing a character, like in a novel setting, I always feel like I'm like, bro, I have to force this character to act a little weird sometimes, or act a little like. Not in the way I would traditionally write, or this isn't how an actual functional human would act like, right? But there's times where you have to force them to become more human on paper, so that it's more like, oh, this is an actual person versus this is three hella smart black kids. They stand out. They're outstanding above the rest.
Right, they're just perfect. Yeah, exactly.
Right, when that's not much of a story. That's just like. You playing like Dungeons and Dragons, but the DM is like, you're a god now, and you've reached unbelievable, and nobody rolls or anything.
20
like
decapitations in a row. Like,
what'd you roll? 1? Oh, okay, so you killed him. Like it's shit like that, where it's like there's no conflict. There's there's nothing to really learn from.
Yeah.
But
good points. Yeah, I mean it's and that's the thing is like, it's just fun to see people excel in this movie, you know. Like the spectacle of this movie is just seeing like some people get the fucking juice with their brain and just going wild. Just be like,
well, them arguing about how Gandhi's philosophy on retaliating with peaceful and organized protests, they're like why would you start with the most obvious argument? You got to start with the thing that makes the least sense but is the most convincing. And then Farmer Jr. and Samantha are like, no, you have to start with the strongest point of the argument or else. And like, it's just those little scenes. I was like, yeah. I was like, hell yeah. That's the shit that I fuck with. Cause you really you never really think about when you're arguing with someone, how am I going to structure this argument to be the most compelling in its form? But like once you gain that ability, I feel like you can dominate anybody because you can frame anything in any way.
Anything takes practice, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like they're just practicing how to structure an argument well, so that when they're on stage and they have to just kind of fucking go for it because they got thrown a like a curveball. They're ready for it, and then if you know how to do that, then you can do it in real life too.
Right, which is a super critical thinking is like a really valuable and underrated ability, I would say. Another thing that
not enough critical thinking.
Yeah,
for sure. It's not
definitely not.
There's no form of no place for ideas. I feel like to just like the internet's supposed to
be that, but now it's an echo chamber of opinions.
Exactly, and the way algorithms like control so much of the narrative, and
You're right. And another thing that I did notice with this film, sorry, I have to keep opening my notes.
No, you're good.
It touched on a black revolution in Harlem, actually. In the very beginning of the film, Mr. Tolson talks about a revolution occurring in the North.
Yep.
Now, I want to like kind of place this contextually for everyone watching this. You have this occurring in this is the 30s, 40s, I think?
It's right before World War II. I think it's 1939 is where it starts.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So this is kind of what I was speaking on earlier. We have this intellectual renaissance that goes through World War II, leads through World War II. We have multiple men, colored men, serving and earning medals of honor, so on and so forth. Then once we start getting into the eras of 60s, 70s, 80s, even getting into like American Gangster, that's when we have the degradation and the fall from grace that the black community experienced in the early eras. Although it was mired by our fight for civil rights,
right? Which
is why it's not like a very well known scenario. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like we had our comeuppance, but then ultimately we're stopped by the degradation of the community, which was via the war on drugs, which I just think it's super ironic that we traded one slavery for another. That's kind of what I was trying to get at, and I don't think nobody did that by choice. Like,
but it's also like, historically there's been so many moments where like the government displaced, black communities. Like when you had the bombing of Black Wall Street, it was because black people had organized, started making money, and started figuring out how to like work within their own rights. And they said, we have to disrupt this community, and post-civil rights, same thing. They shot Martin Luther King Jr., Like that was a calculated choice because they said, if this guy gets too much power, it's not just the black people that are on his side. It's like the working class in general. And they're like, there's going to be an entire revolution, let alone like they were scared of that. So they had to stop that, and then they also said, okay, like, and how do we keep this from happening again? How do we further divide everyone, in order to, like continue to control them, right?
Right, and I suppose that is a good point to bring up because that happened even in the Great Debaters when Tolson was meeting with the sharecroppers, whether they were white or colored,
and dude,
everyone was just trying to form a union.
The same fucking line that you can use in every year. It's 1939. It's not 1913 anymore. Like they're not going to come in here and shoot us. And then they barge down. They knock the door down.
Exactly.
Like, and us here, we're like, oh, it's 1939. Of course they did. But like, you can say that about 2023. It's 2023. Like they're not gonna, do some shit like this. And it's like
same thing.
Well, what happened with peaceful protests on the streets? Like what wasn't there? What didn't the police aggravate and heighten? A lot of these situations.
Tensions and which is
in order to like like there were moments of actual rioting. I mean, it's a spectrum of things, but like there's definitely a narrative that they were like, okay, like. We need to discredit everyone, protesting, right? Like it was the way it seemed like they were trying to go.
Yeah, I just feel like I feel like there's many wounds in America that have just been covered with more layers of societal like rules.
Right.
And it's all rules that everyone seemingly abides by, but the truth is that those wounds still exist, and those rules only apply to some people.
Yeah, it's the dam with a lot of cracks, and then it's got a bunch of bandages slapped on it with different acts and like legislative things. Mm-hmm. You're like, it's not gonna hold the whole thing back forever.
Yep, exactly.
The dam's cracking. Yeah.
Yep, it's true. It is very, very true.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the film. I mean, we have the final debate like at Harvard,
which I guess there's some sort of strange resolution there where Junior uses his experiences as the basis for his debate.
Argument, right.
So it's an emotional experience that becomes logistified by his framing.
And that's the beauty of it. It's the fusel of left brain and right brain, right? Mm-hmm. Like use the emotion and use the logic.
Right.
It's something I've always loved is like it's like the genius theory or something like that, but the idea is like people like Albert Einstein and Da Vinci were so good at, creating new things as well as backing it up with science because they were able to switch from left brain to right brain quicker than other people could.
Right.
Because it's not all about one side or the other.
Yeah, it's about a good
having
fundament of both.
Yeah, and having like as much of your brain working at the thing as you can,
Right.
The limitless thing. If I could take the limitless drug, bro.
Well, it's just like literally. If
I had the limitless pill.
If only I could still get my 25 milligram XR Adderalls, right? Fucking right.
Yeah, not the move.
Yeah, definitely not. Don't do drugs, guys. But, yeah, no.
That's like limitless. They should just remake it and just make it an Adderall.
Just make it a Concerta commercial or some shit.
Yeah.
Concerta. Bradley Cooper was a piece of shit before. Now he's doing. He's the president of America. Concerta XR. Brought to you nearby pharmaceutical companies. Anyways,
what would you do with 80% of your brain?
80? Only 80?
If you could use 80% of your brain instead of the 10%, limitless style, That's the premise of the movies. The pill activates more of your brain.
Yeah, you could access more.
It's not that you're smarter. It's just that everyone could be smarter, but they're not.
Yeah, it's like the cores on a CPU. There's 64 cores.
Yeah, dude, it's about overclocking your rig.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
overclocking your brain piece, bruh. Getting fucking juiced in the brain, homie. I'm a juicer, but for my brain.
We're big juicers in this house,
dude. Okay, that was another tangent, but
kick this debaters in ass, man. I don't need words. I could just fucking. I got these guys.
I got these
left
dukes
one
on me,
and right
homie.
one.
No, that's what Tolson said. He said it's debating is a blood sport, and the arena is just our minds.
Did though, bro?
He did say that.
Did though.
I guess I have one last quote from the movie. And Book said it. He said, "I never saw a wild thing feel bad for itself." D.H. Lawrence.
Yes.
And that kind of like as simplistic as it is, there's beauty in that simplicity because he's referencing the fact that lesser creatures aren't ashamed of like their actions. They're not ashamed of their failures, and they continue to live in the present.
When it was brought up in the classroom, the prompt was self-pity.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like that. Yeah, I agree. It's just it's another one of those. If you can't think about these things and sit and ponder, you have just such a different existence.
Yeah,
entirely,
1,000%.
Right?
I mean, that's why self-awareness is awesome and great and all, but that's why a lot of people choose to be NPCs in ignorance because the rawness and the realness and tribulations that we have to go through lead us to have these highly negative like thought cycles and thought loops because we're so self-aware of everything we do, what we're wearing, what we watch. But if people were more like Coda, they'd be chill.
Oh yeah,
she don't think about too much.
Chilling all day.
Just her big pop, man. It's the simplicity of animals. Diogenes loved dogs. Greek philosopher. he wanted to be a dog, in fact,
Oh,
because
really?
he said they were the most free animals on the planet.
Dude, I'm sure.
So Diogenes would go into like Socratic discussions and like go in the back and like make hella dumb fart jokes and like fart and like he was like
Dude,
he just took it and he said
woke as fuck, beast.
bruh, I'm in the moment and just said fuck it, right?
That's unreal.
It is, but hey, dogs do be really free, and that applies to what D.H. Lawrence is saying. Is freedom comes from not punishing yourself so much.
Well said, my man. I don't think I can land the ship any better than that.
Dude, I had that plane. I took it around the airfield, did another fucking donut, and then landed it perfectly. I was off the fucking. That's good podcasting, if I do say so myself.
Jesus Christ. Jay, where can everybody find you?
Everyone can find me on YouTube at The Loft and Nico Mac on YouTube. You know, if you're into gaming again, or really anything in general, I'll be dropping a lot of dimes this month and early March. So expect a couple videos out, and make sure you like and subscribe to Cinema Span.
Yeah, links in the description for everything there. Thanks for joining me, Jaylon Lee. Yeah, I've been Louis Hilligus IV. This has been Cinema Span. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd, all that stuff.
Yeah, everything, dude.
You can watch us on YouTube. You can listen to the podcast on
Apple Music, Spotify?
everything.
Nice.
It's all the big ones, even Podcatcher or whatever the fuck you want to use. Yeah. Thanks for joining us, guys, and you keep listening.
Yeah, thank you guys. See you again. Peace. Yeah.